middle of nowhere to the center of everywhere. It's Beneath the Surface with Sean Murphy and Corey Cooper.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Beneath the Surface. I'm Sean Murphy here with, he's more than a sidekick, but Tyler Trant, videographer extraordinaire. We're on our last stop of our West Coast roadshow, and I'm excited because I'm with two of my favorite guys, Ian. I just met his brother Neil, but he's still one of my favorite new guys. We were just driving behind them on their bikes, and I was like, those guys are rad. Like, they're legit. And so I was just asking them how they describe themselves, because they do so many things, and to me, they're kind of pros at every kind of outdoor sport you can imagine. But Ian pointed out that, you know, they're professional photographers and filmmakers, first of all, that kind of led them into the world of the outdoor space. So can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I'm garring it up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we had a lot of people who we could follow, kind of use them as examples. Some friends who were, you know, big-time professional skiers and snowboarders, and you know, we sort of looked at that model and, you know, tried to apply that to ourselves, and you know, really what it came down to was picking up a camera at an early age and you know, exploring, you know, that whole side of things. And it really has sort of evolved into, like, you know, a big part of our careers. And it just basically, you know, blossomed from, you know, ski and snowboard movies, you know, when we were younger. So
and as an athlete, you know, you can only really charge it so hard when you're young, and the camera definitely gave us more of an opportunity to stay in the game a little longer and to keep doing what we love. And we both kind of started out in freestyle skiing and snowboarding, and it just takes such a toll on your body, you know. So
there's not a whole lot of longevity in that, you know. So the camera's really, you know, allowed us to see more into our future, and really allowed us to envision, you know, a career path that still kept us in the game and still kept us doing what we love to do, but didn't really put as much pressure on us physically, you know, to try and keep up with all the crazy stuff that people are doing, you know, in the freestyle world.
Which you guys still do. I mean, to me, I've hung out with you enough now to see, you know, your abilities. And I mean, yesterday, for example, in one day, and we started at 9 a.m. Like, when I said, what time are we going to start? And you're like, 9. We're like, really? Like, there's no, like, sunrise shit or anything? And I was like, okay, well, we can get a couple things done. And then we met up, and we decided it was going to be more of a piece on just kind of the overall, all the things
Everything
you can do here. All the things you do. And so Tyler and I were just sitting in the truck like, man, what did we do yesterday? And it was like, we started off, your garden. You have a rad garden, which, I mean, it's endless, the cool shit that you guys do, but gardening, kind of self-sufficient, in kind of a neighborhood. We're in Park City, Utah, but everything's really in nature. We're kind of in a neighborhood, but there's, between the neighborhood and the golf course, you have this amazing garden that you built. And then from there we went
to the
skate park. Very good skaters. Then we went to mountain biking. Then we had lunch. And then
we had fly tying.
Then we wrapped
up a couple flies.
Some woolly buggers.
Hung out for a second.
And then we had.
Then was lunch, and then it was a 40-minute drive to.
Yeah, up to the Uinta Mountains, which is like that's where we essentially learned all of our mountain skills, self-sufficient mountain skills, like backcountry skiing, rock climbing, fly fishing, backpacking, just adventure travel in general. That was like our where we learned it all, essentially. So we drove up there and did some rock climbing at Cliff Lake.
What was our elevation? You said when we pulled in,
around, I think 10,000 feet probably.
Yeah, somewhere between
that.
Yeah,
I think
around
Bald
10,000.
Mountain Pass
because we
10-5,
were.
I was
so-
struggling.
I was sweating
Yeah.
down here, and then we got
Mhm.
up there, and I was like, oh, it's cold.
Yeah, I kind of I mean the temp dropped to like 60, the mid 60s, and
Us Florida boys
Yeah.
don't handle it too
and
well.
the thin air, you know,
And
that definitely has an effect on people who are coming from sea level.
Yep. And then you were like, "Oh, we're gonna go rock climbing," which I've never seen before, so I was pretty pumped. And then there's a really cool lake right next to the rock climbing, so let's carry a board up there. And I was like, "It's heavy, dude." And you're like, "No, this is what we are." So it was like a mile, up and
Yeah.
through some mountains, and I gave you a board that I forgot to put the pump in. So you basically just it was
You
but
just- just
you were
exercise.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
cool, I'm training.
Yeah, but like I said, I was like, this is what we do all the time, like, and especially with the paddle boards, like, it's become such a great training tool for the winter, like load these things up on our back, haul a heavy ass load way up into the mountains at that elevation is like the perfect training for doing it in the winter, for the real thing. And it's just such a joy, such a pleasure to paddle on those alpine lakes. It's like, we've hiked way, way further. I mean, we've done some pretty big hauls with those things, and every time it's so worth it. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I was just sitting up top of that mountain, just tripping out on this. Like,
Both of us were.
really? Like, what?
yeah, cool.
You
Like,
know,
look at
like,
us.
It's pretty idyllic setting, right? You should roll up and you're like, oh, look at this rock wall. Just, it's just perfectly, looking at you, and it's just surrounded by mountains and the lake. It's like just such a great little setting to do all that
It
stuff.
was such a bluebird day. We got one here today too.
Yeah.
But it was like we drove through Tahoe, and we were in California, and it was just smoky.
Yeah, but we have been lucky. I think this entire trip we also reflected on. We're like, man, we've had perfect weather since we left Florida.
That's
Florida's
awesome.
having like some hurricanes, but I mean, it's been just epic. And I think Tyler and I both agree. We always. I don't want to sound. We kind of always the next place we've never been to, we'll judge it, right? Like, oh, we're not gonna it's gonna be like this, it's
Yeah.
that, and then we get there, we're like, we're wrong again. They're like, what the hell? Because I've been to only Salt Lake
Yeah.
before, and my experience wasn't super amazing. I think because I was there for like a trade show or something, so I didn't really get to do anything.
Yeah, right.
I was like, well, whatever. Like, because I flew in on the airplane, and I was like, oh, this doesn't look like much. But here, I mean, I kind of was thinking about if anyone's ever been to New Zealand, New Zealand's compact, like adventure sports all on one. That's like here. Like everything is like really close, and it's all the extreme shit.
Yeah.
And we're from Florida. I've been in LA for 26 years, but still that's not here in Florida. And so this is like Mars to us. Like, it's just so cool and
Well, it's like Florida, is like a water sports mecca kind of, and then here is like also a mecca, but it's for a whole nother list of pursuits and activities. So it's just for us as mountain folks, it's just really the premier location to be. We just have such good access to everything, basically, except for the ocean.
I think more people are figuring that out, as we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah.
Just
don't come here.
Yeah.
Don't. It's not.
You
we're
talk
talking
sucks.
it up. Don't come.
It's actually this is actually Colorado where we're at right now. So
go there.
When we were talking about your garden and you were explaining things, you told me that the only month where it might not snow is July.
just about, yeah. And I'm sure it has snowed in July here, but yeah, it's we just had our first snowfall in the mountains last week, and it's middle of August, and probably the last one before that was in June. So it's if you're a snow sports lover, this is the place for sure.
But don't come here.
But don't, yeah. But we've had a lot of bad seasons lately, so I don't know if it's ever going to turn back on.
Yeah,
We'll see.
and myself, I've never been skiing, believe it or not. I've shot snowboarding and skiing, but I've never done it.
Mhm.
And I just assume it's ski runs and things like that. And then I kind of asked you about it yesterday, and you're like, oh no, we don't really mess with that. We do backcountry.
Yep.
We adventure. So I was really interested in just kind of like your winter, like what does a typical winter look like? And you have, I mean, what are some of the other brands you work with? It's amazing.
Yeah.
I would say generally our winters are based around chasing the good snow, and usually if it's not super good here in Utah. We'll do a lot of traveling and load up the camper and spend time wherever it is good. Because if the snow isn't consistent, it starts to build up these dangerous layers, and it gets really sketchy to dabble around on the steeper slopes. And so a lot of times we'll just try to play it safe and go where it's good and safe. And
yeah, I mean, a lot of what we do is like in the wintertime is just mitigating avalanche danger, like
Just
trying to stay safe. Like, and last year is a great example of the dangers of that. You know, we had a handful of accidents around here.
I think
know,
it was
many
a
people
record-breaking
died.
season in the West for avalanche
In North
deaths.
America, it was the most avalanche deaths ever recorded.
Wow.
And that's because there was a really bad snowpack setup that established, like, basically across the entire west coast of North America. That, combined with an influx of people going into the backcountry, I think has a lot to do with it. And just powder fever when it doesn't snow for a while and then it finally snows. Like, people just throw caution to the wind and they go out and they forget about protocols. And so for us, it's just been a lot about finding where there's good safe skiing where we can be productive, and just trying to be safe, and with a year like last year it was difficult. We spent a lot of time here and being very cautious, like not skiing anything steep. And we did a trip to Washington, and so we're lucky that we have the ability to kind of bounce out when it gets sketchy around here or elsewhere. And generally is for both Neil and I every single winter, if we can get to the point where we can like make a trip to Alaska, that's like the sort of goal of every winter essentially.
Mm-hmm.
After we had our first trips there and we realized what was up there, it's basically just
pinnacle.
like it's the pinnacle of what we do. And so if we can reach that pinnacle every year or as much as possible, then that's us like really pursuing exactly our passion to the fullest extent. And so like living in Utah is kind of like just training grounds for places like that, for the bigger places. And places like Alaska, they don't come into, it's very much like an end of the season thing for us. It's like more light, better snow, more stability. And it's just the time for us to just go up there. And
Your legs are all strong from a long winter of snowboarding and skiing. And
yeah, we've done the drive. We've pulled our camper up to Alaska like 4 times now, and we've flown up there a couple times. And it's
bring all the toys. We put the boat boards in there.
Yep.
and
One year we brought the
bikes.
paddle boards and we paddled. What was it? The Lynn Canal. It's the deepest fjord in North America. It was beautiful. There's like whales and dolphins and stuff, and you're just out there to go on a ski trip. But when you bring all your little toys and stuff on the down days, there are no down days up there. You can either go fly fishing, paddle boarding, biking, whatever. So it's kind of that same philosophy that we, try to keep consistent throughout all of our adventures.
That's got to be the coolest road trip in North America, is
By
drive to
far.
Alaska and
Yep.
back. It's
What is
so
the
cool.
road? What is the name of that road that goes?
Alcan.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
Alaska-Canada Highway.
That's cool.
It's
man.
pretty legendary, yeah.
Do you guys have any videos on that? Did you do it?
Yeah.
Did you shoot that?
Yeah, so we shot a series called Steelhead and Spines, which is
Okay.
like a 3-part series. We've just done 3 of them, where we filmed basically that exact trip 3 different times, different locations and stuff like that. So, that was kind of like one of the things that sort of, got us, going, was like these sort of videos and projects where we combine like something like fishing and skiing. At the time, not a lot of people were really focusing on that, but we identified that like a lot of people who ski also fish and vice versa. So for us, with those 2 things being such passions of ours, it made natural sense to combine them into one like project. And Alaska had always sort of eluded us, and we were always like, well, are we going to go there to ski or to fish first,
Yeah.
So when we finally went in like 2012, we were like, fuck it, we're just going to go ski and fish and make that the priority.
Wow.
So that sort of set like the stage for our Alaska adventures, and it's just, we've become addicted ever since.
Yeah, it just so happens that like the prime time skiing happens right when the steelhead are starting to run up the rivers out there. So
Yeah.
once you're done skiing, you can spend a month or whatever, how long you can spend to chase fish, and it's pretty cool.
What a rad life. And
Yeah.
so when was the first, like, you guys are young, you're still in your early 30s. Like, when did it start, your first film? Like, okay, we're brothers, we like to shoot, we're going to do film. How did you approach people? How did that work? And how did that kind of escalate into where you are now? And what's that process like?
Well, I think we both kind of were working with some different companies as youngsters, growing up, and kind of learning the ropes from them. And then once we did finally get our first camera, we kind of started out with photography for a few years, and then when they released digital SLRs that can shoot video, then we were like, well, it's a no-brainer. We might.
So you're doing film first. You actually were doing
just
in the film.
digital photos.
Okay,
first.
got it.
And I think we had a 20D was our first camera.
Yeah,
But like Neil was like he was like a star. Like he was 12 years old being featured in with full parts in snowboard movies, and I had a few like little films that I was featured in as well. And then that sort of, like I said earlier, that sort of like laid the foundation, gave us the model to sort of follow. And then as soon as we picked up our first camera that could shoot video, which was the 5D Canon Mark II or whatever, we produced a video called Powder Mountain Perspective.
Okay.
And it was probably one of the first ski videos that ever went viral. Like it got 250,000 views in like very quickly. Like Red Bull posted it.
Wow.
A good buddy of mine worked at Red Bull at the time, and he posted it on their blog, which at the time was like people were still really doing blogs. This was before Instagram and most social media. Facebook was a big part that helped us, get some exposure. But yeah, like that video, it went viral and kind of really put us on a certain level that all of a sudden, like, okay, we can compete with these other massive production companies that have huge budgets, and we have nothing. We have a camera, and that's it. Camera and passion, and it was that just alone that was able to sort of allow us to like create a niche for ourselves in the industry. Just like do it yourself, self-produce stuff long before that it became a thing to be your own
entity.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say we like created that mold, but we definitely helped shape the direction of like content delivery, as these new things were emerging, like YouTube and Vimeo and stuff like that, and Facebook and whatnot.
And big productions oftentimes, in my experience, kind of slows you down. Like if you've got 10 people, you're going to go to shoot a ski movie versus two guys who are big time pro skiers.
Yeah.
You live the lifestyle. You just pack I've seen how you pack. Everything's in like a little bag and I'm fast. And then you go out and I was asking you yesterday, like, so how do you guys, because I do the same thing, have been for 30 years. And so, but this is so different for me. I'm like, so how do you guys, because we have a videographer and a photographer. I'm like, do you guys do that too? And you're like, no, it's like sometimes we'll just figure out like maybe this is stills or maybe this is video, and then maybe we see a good run and Neil will come down and we'll shoot that, or maybe he'll shoot me. And I'm like, that's to me like the most beautiful, like basic, perfect just setup.
Yeah.
Like it's just you guys with a camera doing rad shit and some crazy. You and I did the Green River trip together about 4 years ago, and I was just, you had a captive audience. I was like the whole time like you're just like, oh yeah, man, we go up and like dig in an ice hole for like a long time and like live in like a little ice cave, and I'm like, no. Thank you.
Yeah.
So they're like, we got to pack, like showing me all these little, like you'd pull out like something like a chiclets thing. I was like, what is that? And then you'd open up and go, poof, like it's like a tent, and then like an MR.
Just add water.
Yeah. So I was super fascinated, and like and I think I'm a lot like that too. Like I can go anywhere and make a great piece by myself.
Yeah.
I've come accustomed to. I like my stuff like. I use it all. Like I had 300 pounds of gear on our trip, and I use every bit of it.
Yeah.
And it'd be hard for me to go, I'm just gonna bring this.
Right.
Which is, the balls to just do to like, we're gonna go out to Alaska and go somewhere. I'm just gonna bring this, and we're gonna do like a big like. Is there a backup camera?
Right,
How you
right.
charge? I got so many questions. How are you charging shit?
Yeah,
How many
right,
cars
yeah,
you bring?
yeah.
Like, what do you know? And so, and then you come back with the goods, and so I'm super impressed by that, and we talked a lot about it yesterday too, and I was just, to me, it's like, man, so how does I'm just fascinated by the process. Like, you guys are with many brands,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we don't need to get into like your finances and how all that works, but like you're expected to say, what's a few? Can we name a few?
Yeah,
the
like
brands?
one of my longest relationships has been with Armada Skis, and it's been like almost 15 years that I've been with that brand. So essentially I've like built up a legacy, and they have built up a trust in me, knowing what I can do and produce and help the brand achieve. And so it's without those like like long partnerships, it would be difficult in this day and age to really be successful, I think, because it's just, there's so many people out there, there's so many hungry people, and like, it's it's, for me, I've felt it's been always important to like just create something that's unique, and luckily like the brand partnerships that I have, they've seen that as well and see the value in that.
I think a lot of that comes from keeping it small, and like you guys really kind of are do your own. You keep it small in yourselves, so you're not influenced by a lot of other talking heads and different people that are going to say, oh, you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way, and you know all that, which I've seen hurt people's careers, and then we were talking also. Corey, the owner, and I always talk about, like, he's like, man, if I had to do this over again, I would not make things that are so big. Like, we have a van, it's full of, you saw it. It's like
it's like an avalanche.
An avalanche
waiting to happen.
Yeah. But then I was asking you yesterday, I said, show me one of your coolest, one of the brands you really like, and you were showing me, what's the name of the
Hyperlight Mountain Gear.
Hyperlight Mountain Gear.
Yep.
And that's the bags that are this big.
That's right, yeah.
And it's like, and you had all your stuff in these little cool I was like, man, that would be awesome. You could just put all the things they make like in a little thing and put it in your pocket and go out and do an adventure and shoot it all, and that'd be so cool.
So I think that kind of ties in with like sort of our ethics of just trying to be efficient with everything, because we've been around the big productions, we've been a part of the junk shows, and it's just like we look at that and we're like, it could be so much simpler, it could be so much easier and efficient, and
so much less setup and easier on the body, carrying less gear.
I feel like
you definitely have to make a compromise with like the quality of shots that you're getting, and one of the troubling things that we've always had in our videos that we make is it's always one of us filming, and it's hard to get shots of both of us together.
Right. And also there's like that sort of there's very little character development, because it's hard to, for example, like if I try to film Neil doing something whatever, like it just doesn't really work that way. So in a way it's sort of limiting us.
I understand. Like yesterday, so originally, like when we came here, we're gonna go shoot Ian, and we were so excited that Neil came along. It's like, fuck yes, because that adds that. Like, now there's two people that play off each other.
Right.
You couldn't do all the things like the rock climbing and just having you guys, hearing you guys talk about stuff, and also the last shot we did yesterday, which was we left you a Zeppelin, which is like one of our, it's like a river kayak.
Yep.
And we didn't have two seats because it comes with one. We needed two, and we're like, let's try. You were telling me, like, well, if we were doing this for real, like, one of us would paddle and the other one would fly fish off the front. Can it do super stable? And it was like crazy. So I don't know. That was pretty cool for me, because I'm still learning. Like, I learn about our new products all the time. That's one of our brand new ones. I'm like, oh, that's bitching. Like,
yeah, for sure. That was really cool for us. I mean, it like fits our style so well. I mean, being brothers, right? Like we've certainly had our moments where we fight and are against each other, but generally we're like a really good team and partnership. And in those sort of environments, like two people on a boat, we're pretty good, and we can work together, and like we can like read each other's minds a little bit, and so that works out really well. And so that product is like, I can see us doing some really awesome stuff with that Zeppelin, and who knows, but
yeah, we were talking. Yes, you came at me and you're like, oh, dude, we just went to Minnesota to the what's the name of it?
Boundary Waters.
Boundary Waters, and I had just seen a show on it a month ago and was like, holy shit, what is this place? I gotta go. And it's all canoes. Yep. And you were like, bro, like this would be the most awesome. Like, maybe we shouldn't talk about this on.
Don't go there.
But that's for maybe next year, and we're talking about doing some bigger, because you guys like to do like you don't play, man. It's like there's not like you're not doing a day trip. You guys get into it and go and really do it.
Yeah, I mean, ever since I got my first inflatable paddleboard, like I just had these visions pop up of doing these huge extended expeditions where you're out there for a week or two and just living off of your board, because they carry a lot of gear quite well. And so I'm envisioning, it's like, okay, how much food can I pack on this board? How many days does that translate to? And then I start thinking, okay, how many days does a particular route take? And then it's like you start piecing it all together and envisioning the adventure before you've even like step foot, in that direction. So I've got a list of things that I'd love to do with these paddle boards.
I heard you guys were talking like, oh, then we could use this to like pack a moose.
Yeah.
Like now, like I'm hearing you guys talk about like quartering a moose and putting on the Zeppelin. I was like, that sounds cool. But Tyler and I are like, we're shooting you yesterday, and Tyler was up in the woods, and he comes down to me. He's like, I think I'm being stalked by a mountain lion. I just got the heebie-jeebies. Like, these guys are gnarly, man. You're like, there's no bears here, and then I look over and it's like bear country. I'm like, So I'm excited to get you guys. Now that we're here in your world, like bringing you down to Florida and to the like doing the Everglades, or it'd be so
fun.
cool.
Yeah, I think we would take
awesome.
to that place so well. I mean, it's like it's been on our radar, but it's far enough away that it's like kind of a little out there. But I mean, you guys have sold us on it, and it just seems like such a good spot to like get some good fishing in and good adventures and see some new country,
Yeah, and you guys are boat family, so I mean, it really just come.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're taken care of, like we got you, and we've been meeting people all over the world lately, especially it seems like in different areas, like pro surfers and another photographer we just met that lives over in Flagler. That's like a surf travel photographer guy, and all this. So we're like, everyone's kind of. It's just a real cool bubbly moment where everybody just wanted to do shit. Yeah. And I'm like, man, let's like be cool. We got Ian and Neil, and then we got this dude from like the East Coast and this surfer from Australia, and we like got together and like did like a 4-day thing. Yeah. Like so we'd have a bunch of different photographers and videographers. Yeah. And I'm always I mean, I get so inspired by other photographers and videographers. That's what helps me level up, is by hanging out with other people, learning about their gear and what their techniques are, and all that stuff is super fascinating.
For sure.
And so all you people out there are probably like, Neil and Ian who? Provo. I don't think I said your last name in the beginning. Ian and Neil Provo. Neil Provo on Instagram, Ian Provo on Instagram. Check out all their movies and videos, and you get lost just going, like I'm constantly going through your Instagram just like, fuck that. Like, what are they, what's going on? Like, I could sit here all day. And then one last thing, because I could go all day. We were eating hamburgers yesterday in this cool place, this old pharmacy place that you took us to. And we were kind of sharing, you're like, oh, have you ever been here? Have you ever been there? And I was like, no. And as a snowboarder, you used to go to like some pretty far out spots. You guys have been to some crazy places. Just give like the people like, what are like one or two of like the craziest where you wouldn't maybe expect snowboarding, or it's so far to get to? Or
man, I would say Bolivia and the Himalayas. Yeah. I mean, you'd think about snowboarding when you think of Himalayas, but Bolivia, not so much. And it has some of these huge mountains out there.
It's the
Go up to,
easiest
like,
access to
20,000
6,000 meter peaks anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
you
you-
fly into La Paz, it's like 13,000 feet, and then get a little taxi to drive you to the bottom of the mountain. He lets you out, and you're like, okay. There's a gigantic 20,000 foot peak right there.
And you were showing me your flies yesterday. Nick. Oh, these are for the yellow
The Golden Dorado.
Golden Dorado
yeah, jungle.
that are gnarly,
Yeah.
and those are in Bolivia too.
Yeah.
And there's like that wrestling. What's that wrestling shit that comes from Bolivia? Like it's like women wrestlers. Have you guys heard about
I
that?
haven't heard of that.
It's like this
I'll check it
crazy niche, like wrestling thing that goes on in Bolivia.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's,
I have heard
it's pretty rad. I think I want to say it's women. Yeah, wrestling.
Maybe it's the women
making
like
shit up?
on the Altiplano, like the like, because there's like, I don't know, something like 37 indigenous
Yeah.
groups in Bolivia. So it must be something like maybe on the Altiplano with like some indigenous groups. Maybe it's like a.
I don't know. A friend of mine wanted to go from LA and do a video just on them, and
No
I'm
shit.
pretty sure it was Bolivia.
That's cool.
So anyway, maybe if you go back, check
Yeah,
it
that's
out.
like Bolivia, I would say.
Check it out. It sounds interesting to me.
Yeah,
It's a far out place.
it really is. Yeah.
Right on the other side of those big mountains, you look into the jungle, and it's just the sickest fishing opportunities.
Oh
on there.
man.
Yeah, I mean, it's
High
insane.
desert plains on one side, and then a big deep jungle on the other. It's
Yep.
just
The Amazon is
Crazy
like,
place.
that definitely, drew us in, and we've been like hooked on that place ever since.
Yeah, that's been on our radar since I started working at BOTE, and we've almost pulled the trigger a couple of times with Corey and
Yeah.
and like let's hire. Well, I think it came from like watching Anthony Bourdain going down Amazon, and then I saw some other dude doing a dugout canoe, and we're like, dude, the Amazon looks. I mean, that place looks sketch.
Yep.
But like doing like a river trip and just
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
here to there, some like a week-long thing.
Yeah. Again, I like when I first started going in there, I saw these people cruising upriver on dugout canoes that looked very similar to a paddleboard.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's
super.
all of a sudden the
style.
ideas
And they
start
stand
popping
on
up.
and they stand
yeah,
up.
they stand
yeah.
and they
Yeah, they
pull
pull.
through the water
Yep.
up along
So
the banks.
Yep.
So I'm thinking like, all right, let's go
yeah.
paddleboarding.
You
Yeah.
do an insane
Yeah.
trip out in those rivers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Paddleboards.
Let's
Let's go.
Well,
Yeah.
let's go. I think I'd want some kind of guide from there somewhere.
Oh yeah, we can arrange
least
that
puts-
for sure.
puts- Like you're not going through and then there's the tribe that's never seen white people and now we're being eaten or dead or something. I've seen the movie, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to be in that movie.
No doubt.
Getting shot by blow darts and
Oh yeah.
all kind of shit and yeah. Then we're snorting green powder through a long tube and seeing spirit animals and flying. I mean, I don't know. It could be fun, but
Yeah. No, but that's all real. That's all really happening down here in the jungle right now.
yeah, totally. Totally.
That's far
Well, thanks again, guys. I really
Yeah.
appreciate your time, man, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys soon. Again, check these guys out. Go down a wormhole for sure, and look at all their rad adventures and videos and all that. And yeah, man. You got
Yeah.
anything else, Tyler?
I don't think so.
T-Rex.
No, I'm
We're
good.
heading back to Florida today. We just got. The other big problem we've had is getting 2 front tires on our van. That took a week. We've many states were like,
Yeah.
nobody has tires, and then we went today, and they're like, it's going to be 5 hours, but 2 tires. We finally ordered them, and we ordered them when we were in where?
San Francisco.
San Francisco. We called here and said, can you get these tires? They're like, yeah, dude, we'll text you when they're here. No text. We
No,
call them this
nothing.
morning, like, we got your tires. It's going to be 5 hours before we can put them on. We're like,
We don't have 5 hours.
what's going on? So we got the tires. And we're super, hi, how you doing? So we're super pumped, and we're heading back home. And
Well, I'm super stoked you guys rolled through here and we got a chance
that
to
was
link
really
up.
fun.
I've always had such a good feeling from you from that first trip, and I was like, man, I can't wait to
Yeah.
do something again with Murphy. It's gonna be fun. So
thanks, man.
it's
Well,
just one day, but we squeezed a lot
Yeah.
in that one day.
yeah, originally you're like, how many days are we doing? Like, you want to do a big adventure? I'm like, unfortunately,
It's
like
one.
it's one. We have 1 day, and we did a day and a quarter. Now we're doing
Yeah.
this on the second day, but yeah, everywhere we stop, some people are bummed out. They're like, man, we thought we were doing like a big thing, like an adventure, and this
Yeah.
trip is more just about as a content trip, and
Yep.
we certainly put
Did that.
many days into 1 day yesterday.
I
So
thought
I'm
so,
really
yeah.
excited to show y'all. That's been Tyler's I shouldn't say our favorite stop because our other people will be bummed out, but it's our favorite stop.
That was everything.
Cool.
So thanks again, guys, and thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week on Beneath the Surface.
Yeah.
Right, T?
That's it.
All right, later.
You.
Cool, thanks, guys.